What's good, y'all? It's your host with the cloak, down to earth Kami, and today I just wanted to go over a few things real quick. Actually, 5 things that Sparking Zero did wrong. Basically, I'm just gonna sit here and go over 5 things that I think are missing in Sparking Zero that were in the old Tenkaichi games, as well as some things that we deserve to have as far as I'm concerned when it comes to Dragon Ball Z games, because we've been playing these Dragon Ball Z games for this many years. I feel like it's about time that we actually get our recognition. So without further ado, if this sounds like something that you're interested in, please do leave a like on the video. It helps a lot. Also, subscribe if you're new. I do videos like this all the time, and I make content about Dragon Ball Z, and I make all types of gaming content. So if you're interested in this type of content, please do like and subscribe. And we're going to get into this. Number 1, I want to talk about what if sagas. The what if sagas was like a staple in the old Dragon Ball Z games, in the old Budokai games, I should say. Starting with Budokai 1, we've always had some sort of like what if sagas in some sort, shape or form, or whatever you will. But in Sparking Zero, we also have these what ifs. It just doesn't feel as dynamic as it did in the older games, if that makes any sense. I mean, when you go back to the older games, there were what if sagas like, what if Vegeta went Super Saiyan because Nappa got beat and it was really him that killed Nappa, but it was a funny what if scenario because Goku was like, you're the one that killed them, are you crazy? And Vegeta just gets upset and goes Super Saiyan and beats everybody. That was a really cool what if scenario. It was pretty funny. There's scenarios like that all over, and then even going to Raging Blast, like they had what ifs about Vegeta going Super Saiyan 3 and Broly, and there was just like more fun what if scenarios, things that we couldn't believe were in the game, and it blew us away to actually see that we had Super Saiyan 3 Broly and Vegeta in a game in Raging Blast. That was pretty dope. That was like the first time we had something like that. So I thought it would be dope if they had something like that. You know, like the what if saga they had with Gohan being Black Gohan. That was pretty cool, I thought, but it just didn't seem like it lived up to the hype of what it should have been, based on what I'm about to get into on number 2, and that's the story. Number 2, the story in Sparking Zero, it just feels soulless, practically mostly based on the fact that we just don't have no real cutscenes. I think that's the main reason. So there's no real cutscenes. There's barely any dialogue with the characters. And if there is any dialogue between the characters, 9 times out of 10, you're either reading it or you're just hearing it be said by the character, but you don't really see them like speaking. And I don't know, it just kind of like makes the game feel a little lazy, and it feels soulless. You know, it doesn't feel like there's any soul there and any heart and passion put into it. When we go all the way back to, again, Budokai 1, not even Tenkaichi 1, Tenkaichi 2, Tenkaichi 3, Budokai 1. And like, I know some of the Tenkaichis really kind of dialed back away from the story, and they didn't really do too well with the story, except for Tenkaichi 2. Tenkaichi 2 did a pretty decent job with the story. Dragon Ball Z Budokai 1 had like one of the best story, cinematic stories of all time, of all Dragon Ball games, I should say. Not all video games, just Dragon Ball games. When you played Budokai for the first time, especially, and even now when you play it later in 2025 even, it feels like you're watching the show almost, like you're getting the closest experience you could from watching the show by playing the video game that they actually put into a video game. It was just like such a wonderful experience to have, and even though it's dated, it still holds up as one of the best stories in Dragon Ball Z games history, in my opinion at least, and I feel like a lot of people will probably agree with me. It's just something about Budokai 1 and the way that they went about their story. It just felt more grasping. It felt more real and more fan service. It felt like they cared about the fans more back then, you know? So that's number 2. I feel like the story just needs a little bit more love to it. You know, like people say that they didn't want to see the same Dragon Ball Z story over and over again. We've heard the story a million times, but at the same time, that's kind of the love when it comes to playing Dragon Ball Z games, is that we can go over the whole story. But now with these new graphics of this game and these new mechanics of this game, and you know, that's kind of what I've always looked forward to with the new release of a Dragon Ball Z game, at least growing up as a kid. Now we got older and we have multiplayer options and all of that. So we just kind of want to hop online and fight. But I think we need to actually go back to what made these old games good and actually just pay attention to that and grasp those moments and encapsulate them into the best overall experience for a video game. So now we're moving on to number 3. This is where things get a little more, I would say, personal, but also at the same time, it's more valid. You know, it's fair. Map destruction. I feel like with Sparking Zero being supposedly the most ultimate version of Tenkaichi, right? It should have everything that Tenkaichi's had, but improve on it. And one of the things that they did not improve on, which is very sad to see, is the destruction. Don't get me wrong. Let me go ahead and just cut off everybody in the comment section that's typing thunder fingers right now. Just relax, settle down. I'm not saying that this game doesn't have great destruction. I'm also not saying that as far as gameplay goes, in the midst of the battle, this game definitely does have more destruction than Tenkaichi's predecessors, I guess, the older Tenkaichi games. So don't get me wrong when I'm saying this. The destruction in this game looks great and it looks better than it's ever did, but we don't have full-fledged destruction to the planets like we used to have. The only planet that can be destroyed is Namek, and half the time I can't even get Namek to blow up for some reason. So I don't know what the hell I'm doing wrong. I be hitting the planet with death balls and everything, but that's besides the point. My thing is there needs to be more Dragon Ball Z-esque destruction in the game, as far as like just overall like dynamic, like huge explosions, and on top of that also like bigger craters maybe in the world. But if we can't even like get that much, you know, at least make it to where most planets, if not all planets, have some sort of way of destroying. And why not make it better than just a scene transition? Because a lot of people complain, well, all they're doing is just making a flash, make the planet, let's show the planet. First of all, they show the planet explode, which is dope. So I don't know what y'all talking about. But if y'all feel like that wasn't enough, why not ask for more? Why not ask them to show more of a cutscene of the planet actually blowing up and showing everything around in the planet blowing up? Or better yet, when you destroy a certain area of the planet, it shows that area from space, and it shows like more of you know, just shows like that area getting destroyed and all of that, and then shows the characters maybe having to move around from the explosion, and then now they're fighting in a destroyed background, you know, stuff like that. I don't know, just ask for more and maybe, you know, want more, other than just saying, well, it's not good enough. I just feel like that's a lazy way of saying, well, I already spent my money, I'm going to spend my money on it. I love this game and I'm not going to ask for anything better. And y'all, everybody that's complaining is unk. You know, that's what I feel like people be saying. But that's number 3. Now we're moving on to number 4. Number 4 is the roster. Now I'm gonna fly past this a little bit, and number 5 a little bit more. Well, no, number 5 is kind of more important. But number 4, I feel like we all know that the roster could be a lot better, for one. For 2, we also know that a lot of the characters are variants, but we need to stop sitting here defending the game and the company for sitting here telling us that we have all these characters in the game and we have more characters than any other Dragon Ball Z game or any other Tenkaichi game, but we have like 60 fucking Gokus. We got like 20 Gokus or something like that. I counted them one day. Why do we have so many slots for Goku and then so many slots for Vegeta? Then we got several for Gohan. We got several for Trunks. Like, there's so many variants, several for Cell, Frieza. We don't need all of that. We literally could just have 3 Gokus, early, mid, end. Just like in the old games. Well, in Tenkaichi 3, we had Goku early, mid, end, GT. Then we had Kid Goku. That's 5. But we didn't need 20 fucking variants of Goku. I'm sorry. That's just ridiculous. So if we could have dialed back some of those variants, and also fucking Kui, if we could have got Kui out the goddamn game, we could have had people like PyCon, we could have had people like King Vegeta, you know, even if we didn't want King Cold, at least we had him, so that's cool. But there's other characters that we're missing in the game. Clearly, you know, like there's O'Reilly. I know people probably don't want to hear that, but I mean, there's Devilman, there's Nam, there's all types of Dragon Ball characters. King Piccolo, you know, Kami, Popo, fun characters that we've never had. King Kai. I mean, the list goes on. There's so many characters in the Dragon Ball universe. Then there's characters from Super that we didn't get. There's characters from all over the place. Movies, you name it. GT, you name it. Super 17, like, I'm looking directly at you. It just seems like they were lazy with a lot of aspects with the roster. They were lazy with just a lot of things, you know? And they just didn't try hard enough, and these things need to be addressed. I feel like we need to talk as a community. We need to talk more about things like this. Also, gaming in general, gamers, we need to stop sitting here just pretending like it's okay for them to half-ass all of this shit, because we're giving them billions upon billions of dollars every year to give us half-baked ass content. It shouldn't be okay, bro. Like, imagine how good our games would actually be if every single game came out trying to make it like as good as Elden Ring or top that. If they try to top the best game every year, you know, like, or the best game that they made, if Dragon Ball Z tried to top the best Dragon Ball Z game they had or whatever, you know, like, that's just my thing. I just feel like it should be more effort put into these games. And finally, that's leading me directly to the game modes. Number 5. I feel like number 5 is probably the most important. At the same time, it's also just like, it's obvious, you know? And I probably said that with rosters, but like, really think about it. Without game modes, where's the game? You know, we don't really have any objectives. We don't have any like incentives to play the game other than to just hop online and fight each other, which is cool, but there's so much cheese. There's so many issues with the DP. Like, DP battles are horrible. I could make a whole video about that myself, just that in itself, because DP battles don't even make sense. You can't really have fun with that, because you're going to have to end up picking characters that you don't want to use, because that's just meta, and that's going to keep you alive. That's going to allow you to succeed. So if you pick like Gohan and people like that, you're going to have like 3 characters, maybe 4. And then somebody else is going to have Hercule, Yajirobe. They're going to have Videl, people like that can after image and as well as regenerate. So game modes. We didn't have like a game mode. In Tenkaichi 3, we had a game mode called Dragon Sim. I don't know if many of you remember that game mode too well, but I do. I used to like it a lot when I was a kid, because after I got done beating everybody in my block and beating all the CPUs on very hard and just making my own what if scenarios with fighting different characters at different times and different power levels and stuff like that, I finally decided to hop on this thing called Dragon Sim. I didn't notice it before. I was playing like Ultimate Battle and all of that stuff. Yo, Dragon Sim is probably one of the most underrated game modes in any Dragon Ball Z game, because it lets you go throughout the world basically in a sim mode with a Dragon Ball Z character. You pick a character, you go throughout traveling and training, and there's dynamics to where you lose health, you rest. There's a sensu bean that can let you get all your health back without having to worry about getting weaker. You got to get stronger. You keep getting stronger, then you fight a boss at the end of every every period, and then you just keep progressing until you beat it. They need more thought put into these games where they have game modes like that. Maybe it's not the best game mode, but something like it. You know, people say we shouldn't really think of adventure game when we talk about Tenkaichi or Sparking Zero, but there was definitely a game mode there where they were trying something that wasn't just only about fighting. Obviously there was fighting in it, but you know, that's just pretty much what I'm getting at. I think we need more game modes, and I could talk about some game modes maybe in another video, but I think this video is drug out long enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. If any of y'all agree with anything that I said there, please leave a comment and We'll talk about it in the comment section, man. If any of y'all think I'm just unking, I'm just yelling, I'm just talking, I need to shut up, go ahead and tell me that too as well. Please do. And also leave a like on the video, help this get out there, and share the video as well if you can. Hope y'all have a nice day. It's been your host with the Clo Down to Earth Comment. We out. Peace.